What has been my biggest influence? Probably my father, who not only gave me books and things like that, but who also, gave us music instruments, Caleb and I. We were playing music together from an early age, and we got a lot of experience being around music together. We'd go up to Gallipoli, Ohio, and we'd do a bluegrass festival up there every year around August or September. And that was really interesting, being an experience where we would be on the road with Dad. We really enjoyed that, and of course we were always wanting to try and sneak around and grab the instruments when he wasn't playing them. And so finally, I remember I was in about kindergarten, 5 years old, and he said, Spud, why don't you try this? And he handed me a guitar, and I couldn't fit my hands around the neck, so I had to wait until about 3rd or 4th grade. And I remember coming to school in 4th grade and my teacher asking about me learning guitar over the summer. So apparently that's probably when around about the time I started learning. And it's funny that, I don't remember exactly when I picked up the guitar. I think it's just that music was so around us. I could remember everything back to when I was 2 years old. I remember sitting in the living room with Mom and everything, and her belly stuck out to here, pregnant with Caleb, and he was born on my 3rd birthday. So, yeah, I can remember pretty clearly a lot of things that go that far back, and yet guitar just kind of sprung out of it someplace in the middle. And that continued, obviously. And so here we are, a couple of decades later, still making music and enjoying it, probably more than ever. What inspires me, I'll tell you what inspires me is people. I'm a person, I'm a person who I think I'm introverted in the sense that I have to have a lot of time kind of to collect myself. Like in the Johnny Cash film, Walk the Line, at the beginning he's standing there. Johnny Cash has to think about his whole life before he goes on stage. I'm not really like that. Going on the stage and coming off stage even, I'm wanting to connect with people because I realize more than music, more than words, more than performing, more than jumping around and being a character, when you're on the stage you have a beautiful opportunity to really truly connect with people. And you can change people's lives. I heard a musician say once that it was a sick feeling of power that you get on stage, but there is a sense of power. But you do in life, as you learn and as you grow as an individual, you learn what to do with that power. And some people may use that power for ill, some may use it for good. I choose, when we're on stage together, to try and build that energy and to truly build it into a kind of what I call cosmic love that you give back to people. You've got to give that love to people. You've got to help them feel that energy, and that's what we do with the music. More than the sounds and the instruments, and the lyrics, it's about building that energy and having others experience that with you. And that is what my inspiration is. And in that sense, it's such a grand cyclical thing, I think, that we give that out. And when you're doing that properly, when you give that with everything you have, it comes back to you. It does. And performing today, that energy, there's nothing quite like that. Maybe being in love. I don't claim to be able to play anything other than guitar. I used to experiment with the violin. I've always wanted to be able to. I'm such a fan of Chopin, and Rachmaninoff. So if I played another instrument, and if I could have played another instrument, I would want to play piano that well. Unfortunately, the only thing I've ever put enough time into to be able to hone some degree of mastery with is the guitar. So I guess I'll have to stay like that for now until I learn to slow down. Take a couple of weekends to sit down and learn the 88 keys.
Long
Charles and I met in jail, but you know, the truth of the matter is that really I was called by a fiddler friend of ours, our dear friend Tim Gardner, who will be on the upcoming NITROGRASS album, and Tim called me one evening and said, I've got a gig out in Brevard, and it's kind of funny because there's just fiddle and banjo, and we really need a guitar player who can sing a little bit. And Tim and I play as much as we can together, and he called me and said, you know, maybe you could come out and do this with us. I want you to meet this banjo player, Charles Wood. And I mentioned him to my father, who knew Charles, and said, oh, he's fantastic, great melodic, he's just a virtuoso, you need to go check him out. So we went out, and I think we all, you know, played for like $100 split 3 ways, something like that. Maybe we got half off our meal, and he kept calling me and saying, I got another gig, you want to come out and play with us? And I hear I'm famous for my Charles Wood impersonations, but anyway, but you spend enough time around somebody, you get to know them like the back of your hand, and that's how Charles is. And we do know one another well. He's a good friend in addition to being a fantastic musician, and we really, really enjoy playing together. So that's kind of how things started, you know. It was he and I. Caleb came into it. I think I called Caleb one time when Tim wasn't able to do a gig. Of course, we still call Tim and have Tim come play. We called Dakota and said, Dakota, come on out and you know, play some bass with us and everything. And there was one night where it was the 4 of us, Caleb, Charles, Dakota, and I. And after the gig, Charles famously said, it's pretty famous if Charles says anything, really. I think he's a man of few words, but he chooses them well. And he said, yeah, we need to start a band. And hence NITROGRASS was born, which is funny about that name, by the way, because that name, I guess I'm the one who's credited with coming up with it, but it was kind of a joke. And I said, Charles, we should call the band NITROGRASS, you know, because that says a lot about what we do, you know. Not just playing everything fast, but we just wanted it to be, you know, propulsive, I think. And Charles said, Mike, I believe you're a genius. And he would not settle for another name. So NITROGRASS it is, and here we are. We remain. I'm researching folklore, psychology, philosophy, strange phenomena, you know, physics, a lot of these sorts of things. And then by night we perform a lot. And so somewhere in between, it's very interesting if you're going to get into songwriting, because you know I have a wealth of truly what I consider to be beautiful inspiration in my life that you know comes out in a lot of songs. And the funny thing is I've written a lot more songs than what NITROGRASS performs. A few of these will be on the album. And I guess you'd say that in terms of production capacity, I do produce, I've produced albums before in the past for a number of artists, and yes, I'll be producing the upcoming NITROGRASS album as well, so which we are so looking forward to getting out and getting to people. People have been so you know, anxious to hear what this sounds like in a recorded medium, and I think I am too, probably more than anyone else. Say that this medium is on the way out. I worked in radio for a number of years, and in radio we were always told that our chief competition was not another station. It was iPods, you know, and little devices that people carry around. And the ability to listen to music or any other kind of content, podcasts, radio programs and things, on demand at their leisure. You know, you can carry an entire record collection in a little device that big, just in your pocket. What does that do for record sales? It certainly makes them less attractive in a sense. Bulky collections. People aren't so interested in having liner notes and album sleeves and things with pictures of the band and stuff like that. They're interested in having something that's containable, portable, and may even sacrifice sound quality to an extent, for that purpose. It's the ease of access. But as opposed to looking at that as a negative factor, I think that there's a lot of potential, and there's a lot of stuff that in terms of the music industry, that musicians can tend to gain from it. So whatever changes, that's okay. You learn to adapt, and I've always said if things didn't change, I wasn't the first to say this, I picked this up somewhere, but if things didn't change, we wouldn't have butterflies. It's the truth, You learn to adapt to change, and then you become the change, and everything is fine. Music will always be. It's always going to be presented in different mediums as technology, expands and increases and changes, but it'll always be there. We'll never lose that music. A couple of original instrumentals that Charles has written. One of those tunes is called The Blue Wall, which is about this region right here where we are in South Carolina. It's such a beautiful area. And in addition to that, there are a number of new songs that will be on the album. One called Good to Be Bad. Good to Be Bad is a tune that, funny enough, I'm sure people will listen to that. And there is a message, there is a meaning behind the song. but it's not a situation where I sat down and wrote that song, Good to Be Bad, to try and, I had an idea in my head and I had to put it down on paper. It was a funny circumstance where I woke up. I'd taken like an afternoon nap and I woke up one evening, early evening, and I had this lyric in my head, this little, it sure feels good to be bad. And it did. It sure felt good to be bad that day, I guess, because I liked that line enough to write it down and it became a song. Is, again, a man of few words, but the words that he speaks do have meaning. And I think the thing to remember about Charles Wood is that as an individual, he what he doesn't say with words, he says with his instrument. His banjo is his medium for communication. He is a tremendous talent, and maybe one of the most gifted musicians maybe the most gifted musician I've ever known. And I can anticipate things, and he can anticipate things about what we're going to be doing on stage. And I tell you, it's just incredible being on stage with that guy. In terms of Charles doing interviews, I don't know about that, but you might be able to film him playing his banjo one day. And I guarantee you, what he says with that instrument probably outweighs what his words would be anyway.
Well, thank you so much again. We do. We love you. And we're going to send you out on a slower number. We like to like to do sometime. Yeah, you know, one that you can sling out. Consider this one a nightcap, folks. We're gonna let Charlie pick something pretty for you. I ain't gonna name it. I'm just gonna let you hear it. Here it goes. Yeah. All right. Here we go.